happy with two things that are getting pushed for by the president. One, he's not happy that the president, therefore, after celebrating 1 year in office, has allowed the team at the Bombers of Kenya, that 10-member committee with technical teams from both sides, to agree that indeed they're going to discuss about the auditing of the 2022 general elections. In regard to his words, and I quote, he's saying that they've got no capacity constitutionally to go back and audit those results. He is therefore calling on the president to rescind some of those agenda items at the Bombers of Kenya. And he's saying that, well, I'm not going to disagree with you, but the general consensus from the Kenya Kwanza side is that we cannot have us go back to an election result that was completely audited for. Do you agree? Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us right here on the Morning Drift. We've got a jam-packed session with you all the way to 9:30 this morning. Top of those issues we're going to look at is what Raila Amolo Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua have been talking about. Some of them have called them reckless politicians who essentially are going to say anything, anywhere, regardless. But the big question is, as the president and his government, that's the Kenya Kwanza government, essentially celebrates their first year in office today, are you happy with what they've done? Talk to us and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I can't guess Simba. Guess what? We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newspapers this morning. Good morning. So much then going on on your day list this morning, especially this time when the president is going to celebrate his first week in office. By the way, it's going to be around 14th, 15th. That is like 3 days from now, isn't it? And this is what the Daily Nation is putting in light this morning. 48 hours of drama at the Bombers. Anniversary, a tense and anxious nation waited for the announcement of the next president. The National Tallying Center in Nairobi was receiving visitors with various requests to IBC chairman Wafula Chebukati and his team. But the events of August 14th and 15th were possibly the defining moments of the election. That particular story then covered on pages 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation this morning. Grab yourself a copy so you can read into it. On pages 11, there is a story here that is talking about how more under 50s are getting early cancer diagnosis and deaths, as according to a study. And diets high in red meat, low in fruit, high in sodium, and low in milk, as well as alcohol and tobacco consumption, are the main risk factors for early onset of cancer. This is according to researchers. A particular story covered on page 11. Now, there's a story here on how it's a blow to non-local teachers in NEP and the TSC. In NEP and TSC. In NEP as TSC declines transfer request. A particular story covered on page 10. And on page 6, there's a story here that we started the show with on RUTO saying why he wanted an official opposition leader post. Covered on page 6. In African news, we do know that the Morocco earthquake victims now surpasses 2,000. May the souls rest in peace. And on pages 2 and 3, there's a story how Uhuru ICC case shook the Kenyatta family and changed me. That's according to Beth Mugo, reveals behind the scenes and details around the 2007 elections and the deadly political violence that followed. And there's a story here on how Vuvuzela toy turned a family's life upside down. That an innocent move by 5-year-old boy to buy a Vuvuzela, that's a plastic horn, almost ended tragically after the minor swallowed a loosely fitted cap on the device. That particular story, again, covered on page 8. That's the Daily Nation this morning then. You don't know exactly what you're going to meet on the Standard this morning. This is what they're talking about. This is our agenda. And we do see the pictures of Kalonzo Musyoka right there. And Ibungu Houghton, was saying, whereas President William RUTO and azimio leader Raila Odinga have been the faces of the bipartisan talks, Kenyans from all walks of life are also having their say. Now, the committee is receiving memorandum that will be considered in their final report. That particular story then has been covered right here on page 2 of the Standard. And on page 9, there is a story now on why there is a push for new counties will not be a walk in the park, covered on page 9. And the story on Morocco earthquake then surpassing 2,000 casualties has been covered on page 21. And there's a story here on why you will be able to grow teeth again. It's covered on page 3. And the dollar zooms past 150 and piles pressure on the shilling. That's news, especially for those guys who are very sensitive on the business front. That particular story has been covered on page 19 of the Standard. As I said this morning, now you do know exactly what you're going to walk into. The Business Daily also this morning has news of how Kenyan startups now are in trouble after 34 billion of funding. It's indeed the latest out of 8 that have collapsed in 2 years. Now Twiga Foods is also struggling despite raising 23 billion shillings. That's the story that you're going to meet on the Business Daily this morning. For now, we take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then I'll be jumping straight into your news this morning. Good morning. Welcome back. Now, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi has called upon the boy child to focus on their education and shun drugs. Speaking during the celebrations to mark 90 years of Kagumo, Pastor Gashagwa said that she will not relent in a fight for the boy child as they remain neglected. The event was also attended by former Cabinet Secretary James Macharia.
Yes, sir. Yes. No way a country can be able to neglect a seed carrier, and we expect to thrive. And therefore, we must fight, protect, and continue to fight for the boy child. We have neglected him, and we are paying very dearly.
And say that you have done a lot, Your Excellency, in terms of molding the future of the boy child, counseling people who require counseling, and all of us require counseling. And I will not hesitate to say what I said earlier, that I personally have benefited from your spiritual counseling. We all go through times of turbulence, and Your Excellency, you are gifted. God has given you a gift.
Let's move on now. Health officials in West Pokot County have called on the West Pokot leaders to take precautions to protect themselves against tuberculosis. According to data from the research by Quad Excel Research Training Institute, West Pokot County is at high risk of infections of the disease. Beatrice Kahega with the details.
We have 40% of people that have TB that have not been diagnosed in Kenya because of those barriers that we are talking about, the community rights related barriers, gender related barriers, and also issues of legal and policy framework environment that causes this barrier. So if you look at it and also the kind of environment, you know, we have mining here in West Pokot, we have areas that have come out as issues of illicit brewing, then those barriers are affecting access to such services, and we'll keep missing on those population that we want to be diagnosed and to be enrolled on treatment immediately.
Pokot, ukiangalia ugonjwa wa TB ama kifua kikuu, tuko na wagonjwa kiasi. Katika counties za Kenya, tuko katika zile county ambao tuko na wagonjwa wengi kiasi wa ugonjwa wa TB. Kwa mfano mwaka wa 2021 tulikuwa na wagonjwa karibu 1500.
Now, Musungu village in Kakamega County this morning after a man and his wife were struck dead by lightning during prayers that were led by members of the African Divine Church at their home. Now, according to the priest of the church, Timothy Masinde,
it is a bizarre incident that left residents of Kakamega County in shock. This is after a man and his wife were struck by lightning during a prayer session at their home. The prayers, which were led by Timothy Masinde, the priest of the African Divine Church, sought to improve the life conditions of their believers.
Mzee alieleza ya kwamba anataka tumuombee kwenye amani na kufunguliwa njia pamoja na uzima. Kisha alipomaliza, kabla nianze kuomba, mama aliweza kuniitisha ya kwamba mchungaji, kabla uombe, ningependa uniombee pia kwa mtoto wangu ambaye anaishi nje. Alipomalizia tu kuongea hivyo, kwa hiyo wakati ndipo rati ilipokuja na ikatuchapa sisi wote.
However, the deceased sister-in-law, Sarah Musamali, claims that the cause of death might be a long-term dispute with one of the residents of the village who was demanding a debt they owed him to be settled.
Alimpatia kama miezi 3, hiyo pesa afanye nini amrudishie, lakini hakuweza kumrudishia. Lakini ndio alikuwa analia sana kwa hali ya pesa na mwenzake. Nikasema vile nisikia habari niliweza kushtuka ndani ya moyo wangu. Nikasema ya kwamba pengine hiyo maneno ya in-law nation alikuwa ananiambia kila wakati. Pengine hiyo mzozo ndio nimefanya yeye na bibi yake wamesha nini kufa kwa sababu ya maneno.
Shirungu Ward Representative Peter Wanami has called on the national and county government to install lightning protection devices in the area to prevent any further disasters.
Ningependa kutoa wito huu ya kwamba baada ya uchunguzi kufanywa na serikali yetu ya county na serikali kuu ya kitaifa, ya kwamba kwa sababu huwa mashambulizi ya radi kwa kila wakati, waweke zile lightning arresters kwa sehemu ya ambayo ina mwinuko ili maafa kama haya yapata kuepukana.
Nushin Mungasia, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Now, Kenya Kwanza affiliated leaders have called or criticized ODM leader Raila Odinga for expelling ODM members of parliament led by the fierce gender Aisha Jumwa. The leaders say the members of parliament have a right to association.
Jambo ambalo mimi nataka nimpongeze sana rais, na juzi tulikuwa tunaongea ya kwamba ameamua kuwa rais wa kwanza mwenye kusema na kutimiza. Kuna watu wamekataa kuona maana dhambi zimewasilia kama vile wimbo unavyosema, lakini yale anayoyafanya rais ni maneno ya kuibwa na wale wengine watakaofuata. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka nimpongeze na pia tunazidi kumshikilia. Kuna watu kila aina katika serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, lakini cha kushangaza, mbali na kwamba hayo mazungumzo yanaendelea, kile ambacho ametoka akakifanya juzi ni kitendo cha kulaaniwa na kusema ni kitendo ambacho hakifanani na maneno yake, kwa sababu inclusivity haiwezi kuwa ni yeye tu kutaka kuingia ama kupenya katika serikali na isiwe si mtu mwingine yoyote. Mimi kuwatia nguvu wale wenzangu ambao walikuwa expelled, nataka niwaambie milango ya neema na baraka imeanza kuwafungukia. William Ruto alifurushwa kwa chama, Aisha alifurushwa kwa chama, na wengine wamefurushwa kwa chama. Sasa msiwe na hofu. Tunataka ni kwenda State House. Kaloto tulikuwa na yeye juzi tukipiga mpunga pale State House. Ashaitwa bado, si ndivyo? Magavana na kina Nyong'o walikuwa State House, walishaitwa.
President William Ruto has a promise to propose a motion to the members of parliament to pass the NHIF insurance bill, which recommends every Kenyan to pay an amount that matches their finance credit score. Speaking in Meru Lare constituency during a Thanksgiving ceremony, Ruto has raised concerns about the increasing banditry attacks in the county, explaining that they are putting in more efforts to come up with measures to tighten the area security. In addition, he said the government will do everything possible to fight the cattle raiding in Meru and the neighboring counties. Let's take a look at that story.
Watu wengi wanauza ng'ombe, wanauza nini kwenda kulipia mambo ya hospitali. Tumekubaliana na wabunge, na wako hapa wabunge wetu, kwamba tunarudisha sheria ya NHIF bunge. Vile tulikubaliana na nyinyi ya kwamba hiyo NHIF ilipwe kulingana na kiwango ya mapato ya mtu. Wale watu wa chini, mama mboga na wengine ambao wana pesa ya kutosha walipe chini. Niliwaambia wale wanalipa 500 watalipa shilingi 300. Si ndio tulikubaliana? Na mkapiga kura. Si nyinyi ndio wenye amri? Sasa wabunge mmesikia my friends. Sasa mwende mbadilishe sheria. Hawa watu walipe 300 na nyinyi muongeze malipo yenu iende juu. Hapa kweli mko na shida ya ukosefu ya usalama. Si ni kweli? Hapa tuko na wizi ya ng'ombe, hapa tuko na ukora, watu wanauawa kiholela, mifugo inapotea. Na sio hapa peke yake. Sehemu nyingi ya Kenya, Lamu tuko na shida kama hiyo. North Rift tuko na shida kama hiyo. Na ni kwa sababu ni shida ambayo imekolea. Ni shida ambayo imekuwa hapa miaka 20, miaka 30. Lakini mimi nataka niwahakikishie safari hii tayari kule North Rift mahali ndio walikuwa wajeuri sana, tumewakalia kuwakalia. Saa hizi mambo imeanza kubadilika. Na nimesema hata kama itabidi tutumie jeshi kuhakikisha ya kwamba mali ya wananchi iko salama, hapo niko tayari kufanya. Kwa sababu hatuwezi kuendelea kama taifa kama hatuna usalama wa kila mwananchi kushughulika na mambo ya kujenga taifa letu. Kama wananchi watakuwa wanahangaika, hawana vile ya kuketi, hawana mahali ya kuishi, mpaka tuhakikisha kwamba Kenya iko salama.
Let's move on. The political heat in Meru County continues to cause divisions among county leadership. Governor Kawira Mwangaza has now come out to defend her administration, noting that the siege in Meru County is sponsored by cartels. As Ian Ketani now files, Mwangaza's sentiments come as President Ruto calls on elected leaders in the county to work in harmony.
Just a few months after the Senate saved her from the jaws of impeachment, Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza is at the heart of controversy due to the simmering differences between her and Deputy Governor Isaac Mutuma. Speaking during a church service in Lare constituency, a tough-talking Kawira Mwangaza blamed cartels within the county for plotting for her downfall.
Speed yetu ya maendeleo ni 500 kilometers per hour. 500 kilometers per hour. Na tunasema ni kaende kabati. Kaende kabati. Na tunasema hivi tukiwa na mahaslas wenzangu ya kwamba Meru County haitatekwa nyara na makatero 10 ambao wanafikiria Meru iko na shida.
In a veiled attack at local leaders, Mwangaza attributed her troubles to leaders who were against her reign, noting that she will stand firm against anyone taunting her administration.
Viongozi ambao wanalipa mshahara wa 1 million ama 500 and above always to make decision ya kwamba Meru iko katika shimo, whereas we know shida yao ni yao wenyewe binafsi, tumbo zao. Tunakuomba ufungue Meru siku ya leo, Mheshimiwa Rais. na kuna watu hawajakubali gavana ni mama. Kuna matajiri na viongozi wachache ambao hawajaamini ya kwamba walipoteza katika kura ambazo zilipita. Ni vizuri wajipanga na waelewe ya kwamba Meru iko na kiongozi, na kiongozi ni gavana ni
It being the second time that the first time governor is on the spot, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua cautioned the leaders against divisive politics while calling on all elected leaders in the county to work in harmony.
Sasa viongozi tafadhali, our people want us to be united and to speak in one voice. Because these people voted for President William Ruto to a man. Please don't deny them the opportunity to reap the benefit of their sweat and decision by bringing squabbles that are necessary. Let us unite in purpose.
While weighing in on the matter, President William Ruto urged Governor Mwangaza to unite all Meru leaders and focus on service delivery.
Wenu hapa wa county afanye kazi ya county, sindio? Na uunganishe hawa watu wote, waunganishe wawe kitu kimoja. Tusiwatenganishe, hawa ni grupi hii, hawa ni grupi hii. Linturi anafanya kazi mzuri akinisaidia katika wizara ya kilimo kama waziri. Si namna hiyo? Msimrudisha hapa nyumbani tena kuja kumkoroga hapa. Huyu mtu ni mtu mungwana, ananisaidia kusukuma huko na kupeleka dunia hiyo.
Finally, then this morning, before we get into a big conversation, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has accused President William Ruto of allegedly interfering with the running of county governments. During his tour of Kisii County Sunday, Odinga claimed the president has been undermining devolution by launching county projects and issuing instructions to governors.
As he toured Kisii County, former Prime Minister and ODM leader Raila Odinga has come out to criticize President William Ruto for what he terms as undermining devolution. Raila said the projects being launched by the president, including the affordable housing project, are devolved functions.
Iko serikali mara mbili. Serikali ya juu Nairobi. Na hapa chini iko serikali ya county, ya governor. Sawa sawa? Sasa hawa wenzetu hawajaelewa maana ya ugatuzi ni nini. Tunataka waangalia Amerika. Amerika ndio iko na mfumo kama hii yetu. Sasa Bwana Ruto sija hapa akafanya magavana yetu ati kama ni mapagazi yake. Ati fanya hii. Tunatakikana pesa inatoka juu inakuja hapa chini kulingana na vile mamlaka imepewa huko chini. Kwa mfano mambo ya kujenga manyumba kwa wananchi, affordable housing, ni kitu ambayo imegatuliwa. It's a devolved function. Leta pesa kutoka Nairobi, patia Simba Rati ajenge naye manyumba hapa. Mambo ya soko ni jukumu ya serikali ya county. Leta pesa kutoka juu, patia Simba ajenge masoko. Hapana wewe unataka kujenga masoko au mpate ya endeshi. Hapana.
Odinga also called out the president for subsidized fertilizer, which he says the president is using to dupe Kenyans.
Hiyo anakuja kusema tumeteremsha bei ya mbolea kutoka shilingi 6,000 kwa gunia, sasa imekuja 2,500. Hiyo mbolea wamepewa bure na serikali ya Urusi, wagawanye kwa wakulima bure. Alafu anakuja anauza kwa shilingi 2,500. Hiyo 2,500 naenda wapi? Wamepewa bure tani 34,000, wakaongeza mchanga ndani yake, imefika sasa 1,100. Alafu anakuja hapa anasema sasa mbolea nimerudisha bei chini. Unasikia hiyo? Si anakudanganya? Upuzi kabisa hiyo, sio? Lakini sasa kila mara kuja anazindua miradi ambayo imetengenezwa na serikali ya county. Atakuja kuzindua hospitali pale, atiji nini sasa, unaambiwa ati barabara hii itapigwa lami, nini hiyo? Hiyo ni takataka.
Touching on the bipartisan talks, Kalonzo Musyoka called on Kenyans to submit their memoranda as the dialogue team reconvenes tomorrow.
Unajua ndugu Raila niambia nituzungumze na hao wengine. na kesho tunarudia mazungumzo. Wale ambao wako na mawaidha juu ya vile tunaweza kuimarisha demokrasia yetu, tumeni memorandum ili tuzungumze kabisa.
Odinga was accompanied by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Governors Gladys Wanga of Homa Bay, Ochilo Ayako of Migori, and host Governor Simba Arati. Brian Mwai, Lookuptv.
Now, for those who are counting, if you say that it's been more than a year of Kenya Kwanza government in office, you'll be right. But for those who make sense of the times and the dates when the Kenya Kwanza government then took over officially, you will say that this week, on the 14th or 15th, depending on how you interpret those two particular days, the president would officially then be 1 year in office. There are those promises that the president gave out a long time ago and said in 1 year they'll be fulfilling them. But even as that goes on, there are conversations that are going on that have sparked heat within the Kenya Kwanza government. Here's the thing, the truthful man, Rigathi Gachagua, is telling the president, look here, I will not argue with you. I will not disagree with you. But then I feel, or we feel, that indeed you allowing those talks at the Bomas of Kenya to contain audit of the 2022 general election is a disservice to your government. He's therefore calling on the president to go back and remove that agenda item from those negotiations. Because according to him, he is saying, useless, we won it. So why do you want to talk about it? It's been exactly 1 year and we've been running the government. In his words, those gentlemen and ladies at the Bomas of Kenya have no capacity whatsoever to talk about the 2022 general elections. Guess what? This morning, we have the Erics in the studio. It's a good thing. Mr. Ragala is going to tell us exactly where he's been. But then on top of that, let's look at those agenda items this morning. Ask you the question whether you're satisfied with the 1 year that the Kenya Kwanza government has been in place. And also talk about what they have in store for us. Good morning. My name is Simba Kiage. Once we come back.
RUTO.ke.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women. You can. Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your hosts, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Josiah. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of capital captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Guess what? We are already in it. Just like I said before the break, the two Erics are on the set today. So guess what? It's going to be fireworks here all the way up to 9:30 a.m. this morning. And this is a flurry of issues that we're going to look into. Just like I started, depending on how you look at this particular date, then you will say that exactly on the 14th, the president would have spent exactly 1 year in office. Or on the 15th again, you will say, well, they would have already cleared the 1 year in office. So I don't know whether there's going to be cake cutting at the State House on the 14th or the 15th. Maybe Mr. Mungai will be telling us on exactly how that particular day is going to be looking like. But for us, is to ask the pertinent questions on these particular issues on, indeed, if they have achieved what it is they promised when they came into government. But on this particular day, there are questions that have been thrown to the president. And they don't come from outside, they are coming from within. The truthful man, Rigathi Gachagua, is saying 1 year in the office and you allowing talks on the audit of presidential results. We do not agree with you, but we will not argue with you as well. That is the first agenda item right here on the morning trip. Let me therefore introduce Mr. Regalo to the conversation. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, well.
Yes. Imekuwa mingi sana bwana. Unajua ulikuwa fa ununue chai ukiingia.
Yeah. To our viewers, I've been away for some time. Sabbatical kidogo. Eric chased me from this station. and his English were too much, but I would watch him in limbo where I was. The other day he was talking too much English of calculations and how money calculations nearly, and he trended.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
There is an English he took you
right
through
on
here.
stage, isn't it?
Yeah, he trended.
Was it with a professor?
he was twanging so much. So I'm here to cut his twang.
Yeah.
Now he's met his colleague.
Consider the professor. Professor defined what he was trying to do.
Yeah. So he was talking as if he's working in the CBK. I'm actually also saying, enough that you spoke of 1 year, I'm really depressed that Eric has been here 1 year defending a rogue government. A government does not say the truth. Rogue does not mean it's throwing stone. It is lying to Kenyans every day. And Eric is defending them. And they cannot even give him mchuzi.
Maybe I should put you on.
No, Eric is suffering. You would see someone, do I look like suffering? Look at me.
No.
Me and Eric, who is suffering?
Maybe that's the code.
Eric is suffering.
Choosing imekuja bana. Usionyesha watu tunakupatia
you know, I need to see Eric looking like he's in the government. People who are given seats in the government don't even know where our TV station is. Eric has been here in, here out. Eric stood for governor, Kiambu County. Walimtupa nje. Saa hii ndio huyu hapa anang'ang'ana anachoma petroli kila siku. One of the things they should have done before even watengeneze barabara, wapewe jamaa bana embassy ya Sri Lanka. I would want to visit Eric in Sri Lanka as an opposition leader.
But the place would have started from Kiambu, but unajua Kiambu haizipatiwa. Si alikuwa competitor but.
Yeah, but sasa so amweke hata Sri Lanka. Akule pilipili za wa Hindi pande ile. That one Ruto is making a mistake and I don't like it because Eric is suffering defending people and is walking mguu hapa ndi akienda tao. Why would he do that?
Hope you guys are listening. Here's the thing, Ragalo, welcome
me
back.
Don't give me anything.
Yeah. Welcome back.
My stomach is full.
We're gonna talk about Mr. Mungai. How are you doing, sir?
I am well.
Are you happy to be defended?
I'm just happy that Ragalo has come with a lot of gusto.
Yeah.
And
you hear English, I told
you. He has decided to be Mungai's defender. Welcome our viewers this morning. It's a good Monday, celebrating now 1 year of good governance, 1 year of progress. Remember, our team was sworn in on 13th of September last year. So we have 2 more days to the anniversary. A lot has happened within that 1 year. The opposition has tried to sidetrack us by doing all manner of things. But it's been 1 year with the opposition out looking in and government in delivering for Kenyans.
Pretty much. Mr. Ragalo, let me start with you.
Yes.
There's a headline that ran on Taifa Leo on Saturday. It put 2 gentlemen side by side.
Yeah, I saw that.
It put Raila Amolo Odinga on the other side. Put Rigathi Gachagua on the other side.
Yes.
And then it called the gentlemen reckless. That wanaongea tu, they don't care where they are, they don't care what they're gonna say, it will go. When you look at Rigathi Gachagua, and this is what they said, that Rigathi Gachagua is here now correcting the president, telling him, I personally do not like that agenda on the conversations that are going on at the Bomas of Kenya. Which one? The auditing of the 2022 general elections. And you're not saying, well, we don't want it. I was like, no, we only agreed because you said as the president, but I didn't agree. But I'm not going to talk about it because you said we're going to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. Raila Amolo Odinga has been blamed also, number one, for blatantly speaking out his mind when in reality he knows very well that whatever he says might sway audiences in the country and even affect the ongoing conversations of the Bomas of Kenya. Case in point, it's been said that he is failing the talk about not recognizing President Ruto as the legitimate president of the Republic of Kenya, even when the talks are ongoing currently. Do you want to stay in the middle and say, Ragalo, that indeed those 2 gentlemen, the way Taifa Leo put them, should be essentially blamed?
Thank you. Tough question, but easy to answer. How do you recognize that gentleman is your father? And then he leaves. Then you get another dad. Then your mom tells you, now from today, this will be your dad. What are the processes that are required for you to recognize the next person as your dad? He must kiss your mom. He must hold your mom nicely. Your mom must smile. Your mom must be happy going to shopping. You don't just say, yes, he's my dad, because my mom has said it. No. For Eric Ragalo to recognize Ruto as my president, He has to handle my mom well. He has to kiss my mom. He has to pet my mom. My mom has to be smiling. Basically, that is the answer. My mom is the people who voted Raila Odinga. Those are my moms. How are they handled in the current government? They are not handled as people of Kenya. They are handled as people who don't even stay in Kenya. That is why there were demonstrations in the whole country. There were demonstrations even in Ukambani. Actually, the Ukambani people even closed the biggest and the most important route in our country, the Mombasa route. I can imagine what happened that day. No trailers and what have you came to Nairobi. Business went to standstill. But that small town in Western called Kisumu was wrecked more than Mulongo, was wrecked more than Wote. So, we've been burying people. There's a guy called Fred Onyango. He's dead right now. He's supposed to be buried in due time. We are raising money to bury Fred from a gunshot through the back. And you want us to be happy? And you want her to say yes? So how do you recognize a father? He has to show what a father is. A father walks home with bread, does not walk home with a cane. A father does not beat up your mom when your mom says, "Eish, ulituacha bila pesa ya jioni." When we requested to know how did this election go, we were beaten. We were tear gassed. And so we just sit and say, yes, we have a president. I'm laughing off. So, this negotiation is important. People are going to sit down to ask hard questions. And those hard questions will bring hard answers and easy answers. At the end of this negotiation, there will be an answer. If the answer says Ruto will be the president, or let me say shall be the president, and Raila shall not be the president, and there will be a clear indication that there is an agreement, then the face will change.
So don't talk about it.
So don't tell us how we cannot talk with these people because they have never recognized these people. They will not recognize these people until we have a sitting.
So don't talk about it. Let the process take effect.
Uhuru and Raila sat down. They talked. Okay? And from the talking now, there was a recognition. When Kibaki ran away with Raila win in 2007, there was a sitting like this. I mean, I will say like this because it is two parallel sides.
No, sir.
There was a talk. That talk brought people together. And now we had a president and structures that were made. I'm not saying it was going to be made, but there was recognition, I mean. So now we just recognize. And I want to ask, how was maandamano in Kisii? It was more harder than Kisumu. Why was Kisumu stepped on thoroughly than Kisii? Answer a stupid question to a stupid Eric. Why was Kisii not marooned? And now we just sit pretty and say, hey, we are okay. I'm giving you a name of someone who is in the fridge right now in Nairobi here. Okay? He's the last man to die of this so-called brutality. We are going to bury him in a game. Are we not still in pain? So we just be happy. When we are talking, you also have to understand the feeling of another 6 million people. It's not a feeling of one person. So we are not going to be guarded to follow what they want. We also have our own life and we can decide how we want to live it. If we live it in Kenya, laissez-faire, tutakaa tu.
Yes.
Miaka 5 ishe, then tutafanya uchaguzi, we have a new government. But Eric, I will not recognize a government by force. It can never happen. I will still sit like this, wait for it, whatever happens. If they will build road to my home, fine. Yes. If they will not, they stay. We will have a new government anyway, after 5 to 10 years. Yes. Anyway, life will have to move on, a system will change, and another one will come that will be friendlier to some people.
I see Eric listening to you. And there's one question that Mr. Ragalo is not essentially answered me. The question is, your responsibility as a leader. The fight was for us to sit at the Bomas of Kenya. It was allowed for you to get out your emotions. We need to talk about these issues. Then you were allowed. In fact, to make even the process better, Mr. Mungai, we're going to talk about everything on the table. Bring your issues. The 5 of them, they also brought their issues. So the responsibility of a leader... But
someone wants to cancel the other person's issues.
That's it, the responsibility of a leader, and they have not, Mr. Ragalo. The responsibility of a leader is, now shut up, let the due process take place. But Raila Amolo Odinga, on the sidelines of the talks, he comes out and goes back to the pre-talks talk about we do not recognize RUTO as the legitimate leader of this country. Rigathi Gachagua takes time off to address the president and telling, well, we know you said let them go and talk about that, but for us we don't like it, but we don't agree with it. But then we are not going to talk to you about it because we know you are our president. So when that particular publication looked at those 2 gentlemen, he essentially called them reckless. Mr. Mungai, do you agree that Raila Amolo Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua are now becoming reckless?
Thank you, Simba. I agree, one, that the former Prime Minister is becoming reckless in his talks.
That's not the question. Mr. Mungai, that's not the question, though.
I am answering your question.
Both.
Relax.
Yes.
Relax. I know you've mentioned both. I'm not splitting hairs. I just want to explain to you that, drowning men will always catch it as true. And there is nothing as bad as someone who's desperate, drowning, and gasping for air. And that person is the former Prime Minister. Because, you can only employ tricks for so long and theatrics. And, the beauty is time always runs out. You must appreciate the fact that Raila is a seasoned politician. And Raila has managed to stay in government for very many years. In fact, for some of us who are in politics, we are better off learning from Raila on what not to do, not necessarily on what to do, on what not to do, because that is a man who's been able to survive in politics for very many years. But as it happens in life, you always meet your match at some point. And I am glad that this conversation now has degenerated to a level of...
Yes.
It is now Rigathi Gachagua versus Raila Odinga.
Mr. Mungai, I'm gonna hold off you shortly. Something has gone wrong with your mic. I'm getting told that. Yeah. Let me cross over to Ragalo. James is coming to pick to actually come back and touch on that mic. Ragalo, please do not avoid that question again.
I'm not even avoiding it.
It was a clear question. I mean, these 2 leaders have been called reckless on the sense of this. There are talks that are going on. So stop. Wait for the talks to end. In fact, there's already a countdown that is putting it at
60 days.
60 days. We have
We're actually at 45
days.
yeah.
Now we're currently at 45.
Yes.
So shut up. Let the talks continue.
Let me answer this very quickly.
Yes.
Because this guy thinks that I'm interfering with his mic. Yeah. Everyone brought their issues, and there was no issue that was thrown out. The so-called Kenya Kwanza came with their issues, and my side came with their issues. And all issues were brought together as very important issues. It is very responsible for someone to go out there and start saying that issue should be struck out. You are not on that table. Let these issues be struck out by the committee.
That's it.
Raila has not said issue number 7 for Kenya Kwanza should be struck out.
But is he not saying it indirectly? In that issue, Mr. Ragalo, isn't there audit of the 2022 general election?
It is there.
It is there.
It is there.
Which essentially is going to answer what? The legitimacy of that presidency. Isn't it? So shut up.
So that issue, who brought it? It is Gachagua who said that we don't need it there. The election were done. We won. You know, we won. That was a very big, loud speaking. We won. Of course you won. We don't deny. You have your legitimacy. We don't deny. If I keep my legitimacy, don't tell me anything.
Are you also aware that Raila Amolo Odinga spoke about this before Gachagua spoke about the audit of the 2022 general elections?
Raila spoke about it as part of those issues that he wanted to be tabled. Audit of 2022 elections.
That's it, just the other day, actually, Mr. Ragalo. Mr. Garawa has been out for quite some time. He's even forgotten when Raila Amolo Odinga was saying this. He said it last week, but one in Narok. Rigathi Gachagua spoke about this weekend.
Yes.
So, what the Taifa was doing is that it was just putting together the utterances that come up from these leaders, and they said, well, last week, Raila Amolo Odinga was talking about we do not recognize RUTO as the legitimate president. This week, Rigathi Gachagua is telling the president, take out the audit of the 2022 general elections because you're the president. Then why can't they shut up?
If it's the president and that is the hard talk they're having, see, you take it out. I mean, what is the big deal about having that there? Why take it out? Why not take it out? If you take it out, we get out of the negotiation, then we just manga here and there for 2017. Then our economy will grow. Kenya will be first world. You know, hii kitu ya kusumbuana hii tunasumbuana mpaka saa ngapi?
Mr. Mungai, please.
You know, some of us are very tired.
Does it? Do not take the.
Some of us are very tired.
Do not take the same route that Mr. Ragalo is taking this morning. Please, could you address that particular headline from Taifa Leo? That yes, whether you like it or not, we are not taking a side. Both of them are reckless. They should shut up.
No, I'll not say both of them are reckless in accordance to Taifa Leo. Taifa Leo carried a headline pitting both of them, that is both Gachagua and Raila, as the detractors regarding the talks. But I would want to say that first I said it's important that now we are pitting Raila against Gachagua. Because in essence what that psychologically means is that, you know, we have put the president on a pedestal where now these things are beneath him. And that's a good place now to bring Raila Odinga and pit him against Rigathi Gachagua.
It's because the president is not talking about it.
The beauty is, where I like the deputy president, he's a truthful man. And he's a man who, you know, people don't want to hear the truth. I don't know what asks Kenyans, like, you know, when I listen to Ragalo, I don't know why people don't like hearing the truth. And the beauty is, for the first time, we have a deputy president who serves the truth as it is. For instance, the issue of elections, he said it clearly, we won. Tell me, Simba, what is wrong with the deputy president saying we won and we will not discuss elections? There is nothing wrong with it. We won. In fact, what the deputy president was on record, even yesterday he had an interview, and he was on record. And he said, if we are discussing the reconstitution of IBC today, it is a better discussion than a discussion about opening servers. And why is it a better discussion? You're aware, Simba, that since we held the elections 1 year ago, or thereabout, a lot of people have passed on, elected leaders. Now, we cannot have by-elections. We cannot have by-elections in this country today because the IEBC is not legally constituted. But you must ask yourself why the former Prime Minister is always crying foul out courtesy of problems he himself has created. Now, let me ask you a question, Simba. The current IEBC, as was constituted, okay, you remember the Cherela 4 and Chebukati and the rest. Who constituted that IEBC? It was the Handshake Brothers. In fact, if you recall, when that IEBC was being constituted, there was a lot of hue and cry from William Ruto's side. And in fact, I remember the headline saying, if Ruto is man enough, if he can raise numbers in parliament, tell him to bring it on. Ruto, Ishongwa, and the rest that time were on the receiving end while the Handshake Brothers were eating and forcing issues. That is how they came up with the current IEBC as constituted. In fact, you remember the law, the current law that we are using, when they were repealing that law, there was also a lot of hue and cry. And they told the current president right now to shut up, and if he has numbers, to bring the numbers down to parliament. Now, the same law the president wanted to use to reconstitute IEBC, you remember it had been gazetted and the interviews were going on. But then the president, because he's diplomatic and because he wants the country to move forward, and because even the deputy president has the goodwill for the country to move forward, they said, okay, let us forget, let us do away with that. If it is part of what you want us to discuss, yes, let us discuss. But I agree completely with the deputy president. We cannot discuss the past elections. You pretend to be a victim of the same laws that you yourself, together with your Handshake brother, created. That is water under the bridge.
Now, when they've agreed they're going to talk about it, is that not the wrong time for you to come in and say, well, we're not going to talk about it?
Let me get in, Kidogo.
Yes.
Scientists in the world, one of them being Louis Pasteur, he came up with some of the bacteria we have today, and to manage them. You remember pasteurization, if you did a bit of chemistry. Yes. Some of these guys died from their own inventions. Okay? The guy who came up with polio actually died of the same polio. Okay? How? When they were mixing this thing, they would even inhale. The guy who came up with tetanus, he got a very strong back because tetanus kaushes you like this. Yes, so he died of tetanus. What I'm trying to say, Raila and Handshake brother, they meant well.
They did not.
They meant well with these laws. But a question is, in this TV station, it's a business enterprise. Every year people audit their accounts to know how did we perform. Morning shows like the one we are doing, how did we perform? Is it important to maintain Eric double Erics, or we get another person? You even audit us, and I'm talking things that are there. You even audit us. So if I cannot speak well, I'll be shoved off. I mean, I'm not important. I'm just being honest, like the honest man he's talking about. So if at all there is an auditing and there is an arm of the government, an arm of the government is a side of the people. Yes. What is a government? It is a product of the people, by the people, for the people, for the people. If some of these people who are for the people, around 6-point-something million, if that was the number, is saying, no, audit for us. Will you wish away the 6.9 million people and say, we were 7.1, 300,000, 200,000 tusumbua? That's basically what they are saying. So we cannot audit for them. And these people asking, we are not saying you audit, we go to election, because we can't. We don't have IBC. That one we agree. But audit so that we know mistakes happened here, mistakes happened here. And that is why BBI came when Raila and Uhuru sat down. They audited and said, we are going to change IBC this way, this way, this way. We want to have a referendum to change IBC. this one this way.
Yes.
But they said this one cannot be changed immediately. We'll have an election.
Yeah.
But after election, some of these things will start working immediately after election. Some of them can do now. I was part of the ABC writing. So I know what a BBI writing, sorry. I know some of these things, how they were placed and the timelines. Though, again, they refused. They clobbered us everywhere.
It's not actually that we refused. You were defeated at the highest court of law in Kenya.
Now, we are asking, audit it. Auditing does not mean, audit ni kutoa nguo. Tutoe nguo kama Kenya.
Yes.
Tujue IBC yetu inafanya kazi namna hii. Sava kumbe hata hakunanga. Kumbe watu wanatumianga tu laptop ya HP na RAM ya 8GB ndio inatuwekea. You know, you get to know the reality. You know what is audit is? Yes. You know the reality. From auditing, you utapeana mapendekezo. But after mapendekezo, you within 5 years, which is 3 years now, because the 1 year is gone making noise, and the next 3 years, because the last year is election, you cannot do much. The next 3 years, how do you manage the questions and the things that you audited that need to be rectified? So when people are fearing auditing, what are they fearing? Are they fearing the Gabon story, where audit was done by the army within 10 minutes and the truth was known? Even if the truth was known that Raila won, sisi hatutaki tuchukue hiyo kiti kaa nayo. Tutakuita president, hata kama tutakuwa ilichukuliwa by force, tutasema tu sawa, wewe ndio rais. Lakini nao tuli-audit, hii ndio tunataka to change. So, hiyo auditing si kutoa mtu kwa kiti. Hiyo auditing ni ya kumaliza zile shida za IEB. Kama sasa ukiniuliza, let me self-audit. Why do you transfer results to Nairobi? There is no law says that results must come to Nairobi. The law says, which he knows, that any result that has been announced at the constituency level,
essentially the final result.
Is the final result.
No, not at the constituency, at the polling station
level. Why I'm saying constituency, because results come to constituency, then they are done what?
No. You cannot say constituency.
I'm not saying,
it's polling station.
Just listen what I'm saying. I know what you're saying. I know. I even know the polling station one, and I know why I'm saying constituency. The polling station is the final. I agree. Let me agree. But now, why I'm saying constituency level, because that is the last level where the results are done what? Are tabulated, are collected. Then from there is someone who announces again. Okay? This is the sum of the results that came from all polling stations in this constituency. Then from there is no county. Akunanga? At a county returning officer, there is no one like that. From there, the results are taken. Then why do you have another tabulation that bring issues? Then why can't we have all results ending at the constituency level?
Pretty much.
So, the American way. So those are the auditing I'm talking about. But the auditing, ati mtu anaogopa ati kikiauditiwa kitaenda namna gani? Gachagua aache kutetemeka. Atulie. Auditing si kusema ati wanatoka kwa kiti. Kiti ni hao tumewapatia.
Is Mr. Bagalo not essentially, and I want you to listen to this as Mr. Mungai weighs in on it. Is it not essentially going around the same issue in this sense? That if indeed you want to audit it, and you're saying, well, we don't recognize you as the president, we're waiting for an audit, what does that eventually mean? Because if you know very well that the audit is not going to lead into anything, then just say, well, our president, we beat you. Fine, that's one, isn't it? Because then illegitimate means get out, isn't it? Number two, Mr. Mungai, guess who now is leading by example? It is the president. Guess what the president is talking about this morning? That Helen right there on the Daily Nation is saying why I need the office of the opposition leader in the country. That as opposed to saying what won't work, what is not working, the president is talking about what should be working. Let's look at the framework and talk about these issues collectively. Why is Raila Amolo Odinga and Rigathi Gachagua not taking that route? The one that the president is taking this morning. That's why, Mr. Mungai, when you said, look here, we are pitting Rigathi Gachagua against Raila Amolo Odinga. Do you know why? Because when we look at what the president is saying around those talks, he is talking like a true Kenyan at the moment. Let's get solutions. As opposed to, it is nothing, it won't work, and Rigathi Gachagua has been framed again, not framed, actually been on record saying that those talks are useless, nothing is going to happen.
You know, Simba, for the avoidance of doubt,
yes,
and for clarity purposes, I want to put it on record,
yes,
that issues of audit of IBC, issues of 22 elections are hot air and a lot of nonsense.
Okay. Are you not also becoming, are you also not becoming reckless? Are you not also becoming reckless?
Wait.
This guy should be given a job. Anaomba kazi Gachagua mpei.
And I'll explain why. Ragalo has said very well that results announced at the polling station are final. And that's the law. Okay? Now, if that is the law,
yes,
it therefore means that in my polling station in Kiambu County, Kwihota Primary School, what was announced in the presence of agents and the paper that was put on the wall for everyone to see, those results were final. Now, Azimio contested the same, and they went to the highest court in the land. Okay? And they were asked a question. In fact, I remember one of the justices asking, are you saying that there is a discrepancy between the votes at Kwihota Primary School and the votes and the results at the portal? Because Azimio were claiming that there was between Kwihota Primary School and Bomas of Kenya,
yes,
and the portal, there was alteration. So the court then decided to take an example of a polling station and asked, are you saying that these results here were altered? You know the photo, you remember the Camargo issues? So are you saying that this photo, JPEG or whatever, when it was transmitted to Bomas, there was alteration that either added William's votes or reduced Raila's votes? And their contestation was, yes, there was alteration. So the court then asked them to bring examples of where there were alterations. Do you know what they brought to court? They brought to court a form that says, okay, the results are the same, but down here we can see the name of Camargo. That is what they brought to the highest court in the land. And that is why I'm telling you, Simba, these issues, in fact, I can see today the Nation newspaper is saying 48 hours of drama at Bomas. Drama from who? Drama from the Handshake Brothers, wanting to overthrow the will of the people. Now, election issues of 2022, in fact, right now, we should be discussing what government has been able to achieve in the 1 year in office.
Thank you.
As opposed to discussing
and even what they have not achieved and they lied to Kenyans.
As opposed to discussing IEBC drama and IEBC shenanigans.
Bring it on. What have they achieved?
And yet we know, no, you're not the interviewer, and yet we know
and what have they lied?
That the highest court in Kenya dismissed their petition.
What have they achieved and what have they lied?
Let us not waste.
Okay.
If there is an honest,
we're going to get back in the second part of the conversation.
If there is an, and that is why Azimio don't like hearing about the deputy president. Why? Because he's a man who keeps on telling them the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You are a Christian. You know that nothing but the truth will set you free. And the truth this morning, the truth yesterday, the truth tomorrow is that there is nothing to discuss about results of 2022 elections.
So could you help us interpret? Maybe you help me, Ragalo, and I understand. So when the deputy president stands in front of the president, all right, the president is right there in the audience, right? And I will tell you, he was dressed in I've never seen him in that color of a suit. The jacket looked brand new. Gold button, and it was almost
Our man is improving.
Very red, He's improving. Here's the thing. So when he stands right there in front of the president, and by the way, and tells the president, look here, you are my president. I agree. You are my party leader. I agree with that. But that particular issue there of the audit of the 2022 general elections, I do not agree with it, but I'm not going to oppose it. All right? So that truth Is he telling it to the president?
No, but
so is the president misinformed?
No, the statement is self-explanatory. In fact, I do not even need to belabor the point.
Mr. Mungai,
the point is, the truthful men, and by the way, for the viewers' information, the truthful man has gone to Colombia since yesterday night to converse on issues of coffee and tea for our farmers in central Kenya, in Rift Valley. The truth man he jetted out of the country yesterday night because the man is working. And the man must keep on reminding people like Ragalo and telling them the truth.
And the president?
No, what is wrong with you speaking your mind?
And the president?
What is wrong with you speaking your mind?
But then,
even in fact, you remember, the person who was initially opposed to these talks and said they wouldn't talk was the president himself. And you see, what Rigathi Gachagua is simply saying, he's speaking his mind and saying, that look, those IEBC issues, those audit issues, that is water under the bridge. Let us move on. And by the way, do you know why I like the truthful men? Do you know why I like the truthful men?
Go ahead.
Because he's a man who tells the truth even when the truth hurts. Like what truth has he said? I saw the other day Jalas and Karoli Omondi and the rest were expelled from ODM. And why were they expelled? Because they were seen in State House shaking hands. But do you know what is the hypocrisy? Do you know what is the hypocrisy? Is that Kalonzo Musyoka and the rest of the group were in State House, invited for a dinner. Do you know what is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is that Raila Odinga shook hands with Rigathi Gachagua in a government event. No. Isn't that hypocrisy?
Which government event?
No, it was a government event.
Which government event? So teach me.
It was the African Climate Summit.
So that was a government event?
Yes, it was organized by the government of Kenya.
So government used their money?
It tells you.
It is an international event
we used our own money.
By AU.
No, we used our
international
own money.
event by AU. But Kenya was used as the event place.
Some people in Azimio are allowed to shake hands with the president and the deputy president. Yani, the preserve of eating in Azimio is only reserved to the kingpin. The minions and the foot soldiers cannot be allowed to go and shake the king's hand. Why? No, that's hypocrisy. We must tell you the truth, Ragalo, in the morning.
I'm telling you.
We must tell you the truth in the noontime. We must tell you the truth in the evening. We will tell you the truth wherever you turn.
Bro, let me tell you. We didn't remove Jalango because he shook hand.
That is why you removed
him.
He said he will work with
because your truthful man keeps saying if he shakes hand with this guy, Mara he will do. He said it 3 times. He puts a curse on every shaking hand that happens. He put a curse akasema nikasalimia huyu jamaa sijui nini ita happen. Alimsalimia kwa mazishi Nyandarua. You remember? If I salimia this man, kutakuwa hivi. Raila went to the AU summit for the climate change. It was not Kenyan summit. We have to be honest with ourselves. Let's stop lying to. It was an international summit for Africa by AU. But who was the custodian of all that summit? Was Kenya. So was it a Kenyan summit? Maybe yes, done in Kenya, yes. But was it a Kenyan summit? No. It was AU. If it was a Kenyan summit, then you should have gotten people from Maragua, from where he come from, Pale Matangi, everywhere.
They were there.
And no one from international would have come. We would have just been Kenya here talking at Terere in KICC. And since there was no Terere there, people were talking pure good Francophone and English, then it was an international summit. And brother, in this international summit, we were not talking how River Wiru is dry. We were talking about how the whole Africa can get dry. We were not talking about river ile apale kwenu Adi.
No, what I'm asking
you, I'm telling you, I'm just telling you. Yes. And Raila went in. The only issue is the truth of man got flat. He was even saying, sijui vile huyu jamaa alikuja, mimi kazi yangu ilikuwa ku welcome president.
No.
Na mimi alisema kwa microphone.
Propaganda.
It is not propaganda. Alisema kwa microphone. Your Excellency, nilikuwa pale.
We owe a duty Ragalo speaking the truth to our viewers.
Let me, I'll even put a video running.
No,
do you want me to put a video? Akasema sijui mbona huyu jamaa alipitia wapi. Mimi kazi yangu ilikuwa kusalimia ma president wakiingia na waalika. Mimi nimengojea president, naona ile jamaa kitendawili. That is what he said. So mbona alimsalimia basi? Then the case that he's been saying that akimsalimia it happen. See happen tuone. You cannot be cursing people.
Yes.
The issue here, my brother, this guy has brought a very nice issue, and I want us to discuss it. It's actually 1 year of the truth and the lies of this government. Is the dollar at 115? We were told the dollar will come down at 115, or even lesser.
Yes.
I bought the dollar 1 month ago. I bought the dollar $250. I bought the dollar at 150.99 Kenya shillings. Yes, I can show you. I bought the dollar $250 at 150.99 buying. But I was told the dollar will be down at 115. Can we discuss why the dollar has never been down? And did that person come back to us, told us, hey guys, by there, dollar is already 115.
And that's what I want to jump into, by the way, in the second part of this conversation. Because then essentially what we're looking at again today, other than the talks around the
kahawa inatoka pesa ngapi? Kahawa yenye anaongea, kahawa inatoka 30 bob kg, 30 bob. Uhuru kahawa was how much?
That's it. So
30 bob
Mr. Mungai, I want
to assume I do not have answers.
I want you to cap
so
this
Raila killed kahawa.
Do not assume I don't have answers.
I want you to cap this conversation of the responsibility of Raila Odinga and Brigadier Gachagua. That indeed, when we look at them, we're seeing a stark difference between them and the president now. That the president is pro-solutions and is drumming support for the Kenya Kwanza issues. We could have been seeing the same thing from Raila Amolo Odinga, drumming support for their issues on that table, as opposed to completely rubbishing some of the issues by the Kenya Kwanza side.
What I would say is that at the end of the day, to be a bit sober, at the end of the day, politicians will always be politicians, and every politician is seeking relevance. You can imagine, Simba, in a day, how many potential news sources that are there. And an editor has to make a decision between which news item will make it to the news on that particular day and which one will not. And I must say that the politician always will go where there is an opportunity for news to be made. And that's why I say, for those of us who are still young, we must learn from the former Prime Minister. How he has managed to be relevant year in, year out for the last number of years. He's always on our news items. He's always a news agenda. In fact, I see in most stations, they start with His Excellency the President, they go to the Truthful Men, then they preserve a slot for Right Honorable, the Premier. And therefore, that is to say that in the context...
it is automatic. What are you preserving?
They preserve.
It is automatic.
I want you to get on with the submission.
Please, Ragalo. Please, Ragalo. I do not waste my words.
Okay.
When I say they preserve, I mean exactly that, they preserve. So it is not used out of context. And therefore, we must learn for those of us who are budding politicians, we must learn the art of being relevant, the art of making sure that you present issues and views that pertain to the people. But most importantly, we must unlearn to use ordinary Kenyans as a shield towards our own selfish gains. So I think in terms of their pronouncements, in terms of whatever they speak out there, it is an art of being relevant. At the end of the day, the talks will continue. They will come out with whatever their agreements. They are already anchored in law because the Senate and the National Assembly they passed the issue of that discussion. They will be anchored within the law. And ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, those are not issues that affect the ordinary man. They are, at the end of the day, whatever they pass are issues that benefit the leaders that we have, whether in Azimio, because even when they put the office of the official opposition leader,
yes,
it doesn't help me as Mungai.
Yes.
But what it does in the long run is that it stops losers, perhaps even perennial losers of elections, from going to the streets and misusing our young people. And it gives them an official platform for them to be able to critique government. But it really doesn't affect the issue to do, say, with cost of living,
yes,
or issues that affect the ordinary man.
Does it?
But the talks are good. Let them continue. It's a good thing while we are talking.
Pretty much. Guess what now then? We're going to go for a tiny breather right here on the morning drift. And the next part of the conversation is going to be then looking back at the 1 year that President William Ruto has been in office vis-a-vis the promises that he came into the government with. And guess one man who's essentially saying, I do not understand your route in achieving development in the country. Raila Amolo Odinga is saying, this president is killing devolution. And he's saying this, that I do not understand why president would want to meet governors from time to time, governors who are running their county governments independently, that the only thing he should be making sure is that these county governments get their fair share of their money from the national treasury at the time when they're supposed to get it in accordance to law. Question is, do you feel that the Kenya Kwanza government has delivered on its promises 1 year on? Once we come back right here on the morning drift, the hashtag is the morning drift. We do have Eric, in a sense, Eric Ragalo and Eric Mungai with us right here. Good morning.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata, Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, Visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Now, I'm going to read for you a report that was published by TIFA that indicates that President RUTO and the Kenya Kwanza administration have gotten below average performance of 30.8%. And this is what they're saying, that the data showing responses based on political alignment indicates that 43%, to be exact, 43.6% of government supporters think that the government has fulfilled campaign promises, supported by 18.4% of respondents affiliated with the opposition. That only 18.4% of respondents affiliated with the opposition think that the government 1 year down the line has essentially fulfilled their campaign promises. Now listen, a large percentage, 52% of the respondents believe that the government has failed, attributing it to the high cost of living in the country. Continuing to say, now this is the last line that I'm going to read for that report, that there has been an increase in the mentions of hard economic hardships between March and June 2023, according to that particular report. Now, listen. However, majority of Kenyans then think that the government has made achievement by launching the Hustler Fund. Only 10% are the ones who say that this is a good thing, reducing fertilizer costs by 6%, and taxation policies and debt repayment at 4%. Now, we're going to start from there. Mr. Ragalo, yes, that indeed, when you sit back and start to ask yourself the question, what have they done in the past 1 year? What is going to stand out for you and for any other person at the top of their list? Is number 1, the Hustler Fund. Number 2, reducing fertilizer costs. That is well widely known. And number 3 now, majority of people are saying, well, we don't like these taxation policies and the heavy government talk about debt and debt repayment. 4 issues that stand out, which essentially then makes that 53% of Kenyans believe the government has failed in delivery.
I want to be very soft on this government by now.
Yeah.
And my friend here knows very well that when a government comes, it comes with more of psychological emotion of the people. When the 2002 government came, Eric, we were at -1% in our GDP. We were doing so badly. And Kibaki did not scale up taxation. What he did, he brought people into a table. He created a team that will help him economically revamp the country. Yeah. RUTO has done the same. He came to the people for a discussion. What should we do? Okay? And the people told him, our problem is corruption. So what should we do? Tutakusaidia rais. Kenyans were reporting corruption on their own. The office of ombudsman was functioning and very important. Who was the head of the office of the ombudsman? Otiende Amolo. Eric, do you remember this? And people were reporting.
Kenyans were arresting police officers in the streets.
People were, I'm trying to tell you how RUTO government should have started. It should have come to the people. At no point did Kibaki government,
yes,
and this is where RUTO government has lost it, they did not go for Moi. No. They actually told Moi, rest. We handle government.
Yes.
Nobody pointed a finger on Moi. Do you know why this government is not performing? It's not economy. It is social. The minute they went in, I'm a truthful man. Don't brag to me. The minute they went in, our problem is Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, that is still a president. There is no way he becomes an ex-president. We are an American system, and we should teach each other English. That is when I was with Eric here, and I told Eric, English is important. As much as we speak politics here, it's good to tell people there is no former President Kenyatta. It's called President Kenyatta. There is no former president, prime minister. There's no former Prime Minister. It is Prime Minister Raila. So that people keep their integrity and their heshima. Ama naongea vibaya Eric?
Proceed.
Nataka uanze kunichapa mapema. So what I'm trying to say, we don't say former president. Right now you can say former president Moi Kibaki because he's gone.
Yeah.
Former President Moi because he's gone.
Yeah.
But when you're alive, there's no word like former president. It is President Kenyatta. And that's why when you go to America, because we are an American system, that's why I say our constitution is mirrored like American constitution. And we keep saying that. Then we stop thinking and behaving as such. When we come to Kenya, tunadharau wengine. We start contempting on leaders.
Yes.
When you go to America, we say President Obama. Nobody says former President Obama. Themselves. Even the president who is sitting, they don't say former president, they say President Obama, President Bill Clinton, President Carter. So when you say President Kenyatta, you give him the presidential respect, even as he goes away. When you reach the president, you reach the first family, you reach the second family. Because the first family is the Kenyatta family, then the second family is actually Uhuru family. Don't say they are one, they are not one. Because even Uhuru has a family. Kenyatta is his father, that's another family. When you reach these two families, because when you reach to Mama, you reach the first family where Mzee Kenyatta is asleep. Then you reach Uhuru Kenyatta, you're reaching another family. You are reaching a society of people who still believe in him. These people will create an embargo on your economy. Economy grows because of social effects of that economy. When the country come together, they start rolling the ball together. No winner, no loser. It is one. But when you beat a president who is leaving, your shilling will have to lose strength. When you fight the prime minister, who is still also alive, your shilling will lose. I mean, let's be social first before we go to economy. So that is what creates problem in Kenya. And then Kenya now divide itself and say, sisi tuko pande, wacha wa rule miaka 5, wakishamaliza maybe tutachukua siku ingine iwe yetu. What are you doing to our country? We stopped being social, we became fighters against others. There, the Tifa didn't ask them, they lost 0. Kibaki did it differently. When it was said, let's go for Moi, Kibaki refused, Raila refused. You don't go for someone. You don't go to the land of Uhuru Kenyatta, both in Njoro and Ruiru. What are you doing? So that is how economy grows. That is how economy fails. Because when you do that, international community is watching. They stop investing in Kenya and say, wacha kwanza tungoje. The dollar don't come. When the dollar don't come, what happened to the bourse? Forex exchange goes down. It depends. So what happens to the bourse when it depends? The dollar becomes very expensive. So the buying price rises. When the buying price rises, what happens to anything that is produced in Kenya? Automatically. So if we are saying we have a problem, we have a war in Ukraine, kwani that war in Ukraine is not affecting Uganda? Ama Uganda is easier with the war in Ukraine. Kenya, things are difficult because of war in Ukraine. Uganda, kwani are not having the war in Ukraine? You can even see the madharau we had from Tanzania. They said, watu walikuja kutuomba dola, tukaambia hata sisi hatuna. Hata kama tulikuwa nayo tuwezi wapatia, wanatumia yao vibaya. I didn't say that. War in Ukraine is not affecting Tanzania. Are you getting? We just don't become social. We fight. That is one. My problem in Kenya is not even how people lied. Nitapatia watu visodo immediately. Wapi ziko wapi? Hizo sitaki kuongea vile watoto wapati visodo. Sitaki kuongea vile NHIF within 6 months till December watu wajaipata hiyo NHIF mpaka leo. Sitaki kuongea hizo. My problem is social. Stop fighting other leaders. Bring them together to the table to work together. Your shilling will come down. The shilling of RUTO of 115 will never come down. Kama bado wanasukumana na Uhuru, wanasukumana na Raila, wanaongea Kalonzo mbaya, how will that come down? That is how, my brother, we come from a family. If my father has a problem with my mother, there is no way they will create a home. They will always have a house. A home will never be there. Kenya should be a home. I don't want to speak these lies. There are too many. There are too many. Mara finance bill. Mara. There are too many. Lower cost of living. $1.15. Network in every market. These are too many lies.
I'll come to you on that particular.
It is more social. Na kama nimeongea ambaye nipige sasa.
Mr. Mungai, I want you to pick the Business Daily.
The guilty are always afraid.
Nimekuambia tu.
Yes, you do have it right there. And,
yes, I have it here.
And the bigger headline there is that now the dollar is officially at 150. And by the way, that's the official rate.
Official.
For the Central Bank of Kenya. Now the market rate could be 4 to 6 points off that official rate. Because when they were telling us it was at 145, it already crossed to 150. Now, when they're saying it's 150...
Actually, when it was 145, I bought it. That's when I bought it at 150.99. So, ikiwa ni official 150, people are going to buy it at 155.
That's it. So, Mr. Mungai, let's begin from there. I want to remind you of the sentiments of the president when he came on board. He said, I'm going to fix this economy. And one of the ways that you start reading into an economy that is getting fixed is that our shilling should not be losing against the dollar. We should be gaining more on the dollar. I want to remind you of an event that the president and the deputy president went, actually the deputy president, went all the way to Mombasa to receive a batch of oil from Saudi market. And then he said, all those guys who are holding their dollars, I want to tell them, guys, release them right now. Because in the next 1 month or so, it's going to come down all the way to 120. Those particular sentiments are the ones that we as Kenyans are looking at. So now, if you listen to that TIFA report, Mr. Mungai, the only thing that stands out, which we can turn around and say, well, majority of Kenyans can attach some sense into it, is the launch of the Hustler Fund. Number 2, lowering the cost of fertilizer. But other than that, majority of people are complaining about taxation. And what has been heavy on the government side is debt payment, which, Mr. Mungai, as we start this morning, is questionable because you're paying it in dollars and your shilling is losing against the dollar. So the monthly debt repayments that we're paying last month have gone up. Again, this month they're going to be higher. Mr. Mungai, where do you start defending the government from 1 year down the line?
I want to look at him now.
I like the way you say Mungai, how am I defending the government? First of all, I am not a self-certified government defender. But I like calling out facts as they are.
Sure.
And let's start with fact number 1 on what Ragalo has said. About when the Kenya Kwanza government got into power, they started going after President Uhuru and Premier Raila Odinga.
Yes.
I want to remind him that in 2002 when Kibaki came into power, one of the first commissions he established was the Kroll Commission, which came up with a Kroll report to investigate how the former president and his family, the late President Moi, had looted the country dry. But for political reasons, it was never made public. So in terms of going back to what others have done, there is clearly a precedence. But be that as it may, it's not that the President William went after Raila and Uhuru. It is that the two handshake brothers did not believe that His Excellency William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua had won the presidency, and they were still suffering from hangovers, and therefore they decided to destabilize his government. And I've told you in this platform before that one must not stroke the anus of a hyena and they expect to go scot-free or expect no repercussions. So the repercussions were bound to be there. But let me come to the substance of the debate, specifically with regard to do with the dollar. Now, I was just reading the newspaper today.
Yes.
In fact, I have opened that page, page 52 of the, no, page something,
yes.
DN2 of the Daily Nation, on how Nigeria is struggling. And this particular headline reads, fear of mass dropout as Nigeria raises school fees. And it goes ahead to say that inflation and joblessness and imported inflation have worked together to something, the naira something.
Yes.
Now, I agree with you that there was a declaration by the president and his deputy that on the issue of the oil, we would ease, the run on the Kenya shilling. But then, sometimes we look at what did not happen in terms of where we are now, but sometimes we do not look at how worse it could have been then. Because you remember, 30% of our demand for dollar every month was courtesy of the fact that we were importing oil, and we still are. And therefore, at that particular time, if action had not been taken, the fact that we are talking about 150 today, then we would have been talking about different figures. In fact, today we would be talking about 200 and something. And therefore, sometimes it is easy to look at what is happening now and fail to account on what could have happened. Now, you've mentioned the TIFA report. Well, you know me pretty well that I do not subscribe to those opinion polls, because I believe they are skewed and they are cooked in favor of certain quarters, and therefore I cannot speak to them because I really do not feel they are scientific in nature in terms of their output and in terms of what they purport to tell the public. But let me speak to something else in terms of what has happened since the government came in. And because this is particularly important for Kenyans to be able to understand. Now, His Excellency William and Rigathi inherited a government that was heavily debt-laden. In fact, at some point, there were comparisons. You remember when Ghana defaulted? You remember when Ghana defaulted? There was talk in the African continent, including in IMF circles, that the next country to default would have been the Kenyan government. Have we defaulted? No, we haven't. And there are still huge debt repayments coming up in this financial year that we need to pay back to whomever we had borrowed from. And also remember that it is purported that part of that debt that was borrowed by the Handshake brothers never found its way to the country's coffers. And if you recall one day at the corruption conference in State House, when Uhuru was asked by the Auditor General, can we go and audit and see whether the monies that were borrowed in the Eurobond came to the country? The president laughed and scorned the former Auditor General. And therefore, that is to say that the president so far has done a good job in stabilizing the economy, not necessarily growing it, in stabilizing the economy. Because you remember, even we had an issue of being unable to pay staff. We delayed paying staff for 1 year, or not 1 year, for 1 month. And therefore, we may not have grown, but what we have avoided is in essence something to be thankful for, because it would have been catastrophic. That is one. Secondly, I can see the way you're looking at me, Simba.
Just want to get you done with
Secondly,
your submission.
When I was going to school in my early years, we were asked what is the economic activity, of Kenya, when you look at different countries and how they raise foreign exchange. And when I was growing up, we earned foreign exchange from one, agriculture, and secondly, tourism. You remember that time tourism was a very high foreign exchange earner. Today, 70% of tourism is domestic. That means it is Simba who decides to go to Mombasa, it is Simba, he decides to go to Masai Mara, and not necessarily the Muzungu we were expecting.
That's it. It's also dropped.
So it's also dropped.
It's also dropped in terms of,
yes, so in terms of foreign exchange, we've suffered from that front.
That's it.
Now, what has remained are the cash crops that, because we do not export a lot of manufactured products, even when we have EPZ. So what has remained are the cash crops that ordinarily we export to other countries. Now, what has the government done to ensure that we are not only food self-sufficient, but we are also able to export? The issue of subsidized fertilizer comes in, and the government has done an excellent job. For the first time, we are going to have bountiful harvest. But let me speak not just to the economic, but also to the social issues that Ragalo mentioned about. For the first time, after the Handshake brothers, we have a government that is humane in their approach to issues.
Yes.
Now, if you recall during the handshake era, and especially during the corona era,
yes,
we had our elderly parents in Ruai, in Kariobangi, while it was raining heavily, the president that time, Kenyatta, evicted people while it was raining at night and made sure that our elderly fathers and mothers wait.
The question was easy. Give us the answer.
Let him get done.
Wait,
you still have 2 minutes, Mr.
Yes,
Mugai. Yes.
So what we have for the first time is a humane government that understands the concerns of its people and has a humane approach towards solving people's not only social issues but economic issues. And that is why you see, for the first time, I can access, but you cannot organize demonstrations and organize to go and beat your own people and blame government. But that is neither here nor there. What I am trying to say is that for the first time, I can sit on my phone and borrow Hustler Fund. In fact, I have a loan here. I'll show you of Hustler Fund.
So you're a millionaire now?
No, I'm not a millionaire.
But you have a big loan.
No, I don't have a big loan. But I don't have to know Ragalo, and Ragalo doesn't have to like me for me to borrow Hustler Fund. Now, Ragalo and myself, we might not have been the target beneficiaries of that fund. But a majority of Kenyans who go on a daily basis on hand to mouth, that fund has been very instrumental and beneficial to them. I want to dare you, Simba, today. I want you to go to any Safaricom shop in the village that you have, and you will see long queues of Kenyans presenting certificates of their registered groups for them to be able to access Hustler Fund. I was in TRM the other day, Safaricom customer care. The queue was all the way up to the gate. Why? Kenyans were coming in groups to present their certificates of incorporation, their certificates of registration, for them to access Hustler Fund as a group so that they can go and grow economically. Now, the challenge I have sometimes with sitting in a panel like this and discussing issues with good English is that sometimes we forget the impact that government intervention has had on the life of ordinary Kenyans.
Yes.
And that is just one example of how this government has been able to touch the lives of people. As I conclude is to say this: can the government do better? Yes, absolutely. They can do better. Are there areas that government needs improvement? Absolutely. There are areas that government needs improvement. Are there areas that the government has done exceptionally well? Absolutely. There are many, and they are huge in number, including even inviting our brothers and sisters from the Azimio side to come to the table and have a discussion about this country.
Mr. Ragalo, but Mr. Mugai, as I go to Mr. Ragalo, I want you to make sense of this particular headline that we're seeing here. It's a story that we covered here at Lookuptv, but it's a story that we ran on www.lookuptv.co.ke, and this was the headline. In Muranga, frustrated farmers uproot their coffee trees protesting poor market returns. It continues to say, the dwindling returns for coffee in parts of Mount Kenya have frustrated farmers, some of whom are uprooting them. Now this is what they're saying. The irrational prices, as per the farmers' assessment, have led them keeping their produce with the anticipation that the market forces would shift to their advantage. Now listen. Political leaders from the Mount Kenya areas growing the crop had laid blame on the rings of cartels believed to be exploiting the farmers. That is 1 year
Can
down
I
the line.
explain? Let me explain that. No, let me explain. Let me explain that.
I'll be coming to you. I'll be fully coming to you. We still have a lot of time left for this discussion.
He'll not take my time.
That's it. So
Please
proceed, when you listen, when you are walking into these headlines 1 year down the line, for government that campaigned heavily on the back of this particular promise, won't you say that indeed they are failing at it?
Let me talk of this government.
Yes.
And tell you how this government now have lied, because now you've taken me there.
Yes.
RUTO once said that I've been the Minister for Agriculture. And mimi nimetoka mahali watu wanalima.
Yes.
I have sold maize and chicken on a roadside. Meaning, those chicken, he was one growing them. I mean, rearing them, sorry, not growing them, rearing them. And the maize growing. And meaning he knows how the soil and everything. Then he said that I'm a scientist, which I believe. And that's why I love science, because science don't lie. So if this guy can't believe in Tifa, and that is science.
It's not science, not necessarily.
Okay, sawa. Me, I'm saying it's science because it is a research which they did. How they did it, I don't want to know. But yes, I'll believe it's science because they said it is research.
Mr. Mugai,
so
do not
research
believe
is
you go and
science.
ask for them for the criteria, they will give it to you.
Yes. So now, what I'm saying is, if and one day the deputy said, the truthful man said, mimi mambo yangu ni matatu. Kahawa, majani chai, na maziwa ya Mount Kenya. Wacha nimuongezea ya 4, macadamia. You know? And he said he's going to handle that for Mount Kenya. And Mount Kenya were lied to.
Yes.
That Uhuru is the reason why their maziwa is not doing well.
Yes.
And the problem was not even Uhuru, it was the company Brookside. People just tend to not want to remember the truth. So now, what happened post all that? The kahawa that was doing well during Uhuru time is now selling at 30 bob a kg. I said it before, just a few minutes ago, and he rebutted. He knows the truth. I'm also from Mount Kenya. That's where I sleep. So I hear them speak the language that I know very well. It's going for 30 bob. If I'm lying, he's here. He's actually a governor. He's here at 30 bob. One whole year. When were you going to make kahawa prices go up? We are not complaining about fish. Ipande sipande fish tutakula. Tu fish iko. You know, there are communities that don't complain at all. You want to make simsim expensive, Luanda tutakula simsim. You want to make njugu expensive, njugu tutakula. We don't complain of prices. Hapana, do what you want. But the community that you promised directly on those prices, what have you done with them? Macadamia is gone. To an extent, one of the big macadamia companies in Thika shelved some of the workers, the Django company and others. Okay? Kahawa ndio inaanguka to 30 bob a kg. What happened the first year in Meru, in Embu, they call it Kevanji. Because kitambo, when they were given bonuses, it was in 5 bob. So they used to call it Kevanji, which means 5 bob. I'm even teaching you things you don't know. In Embu, the bonus, they call it Kevanji. That Kevanji is a name I got when I went to Embu, a place called, in Manyata. I'm forgetting the name of a place.
Kibogua where?
Kuna Kibogua, kuna ile na
Kirigi.
Izo Kirigi, Kevanji.
Kairo,
So they were being given Kevanji. Uhuru brought their Kevanji so highly. Kahawa Kevanji. Before Uhuru left, they were being paid highly. The other day, their Kevanji was so low and it was inconsequential and even inconsistent. Yes. Their people were paid better than others, but not as Uhuru time. So what happened? That's what I was saying. As much as we want to complain, and I'm assisting my brother, it is more social. Bring people together. Let people harness their country as one. Your shilling will strengthen. And that Kevanji, it all goes back to the dollar. Brother, it all goes back to the dollar. If we don't handle this dollar, it will not happen in so many things. We will raise taxation. Right now, this end of the month, we are waiting for 2.75% of NHIF. We are waiting. It's going to hit us like a taran. Sijuzi tumenyang'anywa ile ingine. Mimi nasema kunyang'anywa because mimi nyumba sitapata. Si tulinyang'anywa. Sasa NHIF pia inakuja kutunyang'anya. Did you talk to Kenyans? Did you ask them, how do we handle our country? This group of Kibaki went each country, there were no counties. They went to each provinces, getting views of the people, how economy can be managed. It is people who said ngoa manyumba zenye ziko kwa barabara. People. Ndio kwa maana manyumba zikibomolewa Thika Road, nobody went on rampage. Hata watu walikuwa na shukuru. People wanted it to happen. Even people ndio walikuwa nasema mashamba yetu hayana matigiti. Kibaki akasema tutakuwa tunawapatia sasa nini? Title. Ikafika title inapeana mpaka kwa 40 by 80. Kitambo 40 by 80 ungepata title. Is it a lie? It is true. People said tukienda tunaambiwa kwa banka tuwezi pewa loan because hatuna title juu ya 40 by 80. Kibaki akasema kumbe that is the problem. I will give you title so that you can also get loan through that small land. It is people who gave Kibaki thoughts on how the economy can grow. I'm telling you what happened. If I'm lying, he's here. You cannot manage a country alone. Talk with the people. Watu watakwambia by the way dollar inakusumbua because tukafanya hivi, tufanye hivi tutaendelea. Na ukifanya hivyo because you are a president, ukifanya hivyo people will support you. Kibaki has a big ranches. He wouldn't know there's a 40 by 80. Sometimes there's a point in life you reach, you will not know. Trust you me. You will not know. But people told them you cannot access loan because of this and this and this. And now those reports went. And Kibaki changed some of these things. We cannot get this because ukienda kwa ID inachukua miezi 3. Ipungue ndio wapate ID haraka, vitu zifanyike haraka. You see the way he changed the system because people told him what to do so that if you don't bring people in the management of your country, and when you see your management of your country problem is the person who was in seat yesterday, you will never grow because anytime you move, you utakuwa unasema Uhuru time, Uhuru time. Why are you looking at Uhuru time? It is your time. Ask people, kujeni. Tuachane na ya Uhuru. That's what Kibaki told us. Tunataka tuteneze Kenya. Mnataka aje? Watu walisema tutakuletea hata wezi, tutawashika. Walikuwa wanashikwa na watu. People are policing themselves. If we don't help RUTO with that, RUTO will not make this country better. Because he shunned other leaders. He became brighter than thou and stopped listening to even anybody else. They will not make it. The dollar will never go down. It is people who help you to manage. And that's why I say a government of the people, for the people, by the people. It's not a government for a person, by the person, for the person. It is people. Sisi ndio tutampatia, hata kama tumpendi, tunampenda, tutampatia cause inaumiza mfuko yangu na watoto yangu, hata kama simtaki. So nitataka atoboe ndio niendelee vizuri. Me, I'm not here to tell you about how he has lost because the list is long. Nilikwambia sitazisema, ndio hizi hapa. But nataka kuimagine kama angekaa tu chini na watu. Unaona hii group ya D, the finance whatever.
Yes.
That should have gone this hata within 6 months wangezunguka Kenya wachukue opinions and listen to people. Wangeambiwa ukweli. Then within another 6 months wangeanza kutengeneza raft of how to manage the economy. While by the 3rd year this economy would have shifted and stronger.
Yes.
But he didn't do that. Ndi is telling him we need to tax these people more. It is Ndi talks this thing. You know, we advise the president and a country must be taxed. Yes, we don't refuse. Taxing country does not mean country is doing well. Highly taxed country, the most highly taxed country in the world is called Denmark. The GDP of Denmark is so high. But how is Denmark? Everything is free. And Liechtenstein, and Luxembourg, the richest country in the world right now, Luxembourg. They're highly taxed, but how is it? Taxing people highly does not mean development. It doesn't. It means we are collecting money to cover the mashimo zenye ziko. But that does not mean. Ni kama uchukue loan kufunika loan, umemaliza loan. That is what we are doing. But kana bibi yako na watoto. Uambie bibi yako sasa, hapa aka kaunga, tutakuwa tunapika kamoja, then tunapika githeri jioni. Ndio tuache kununua unga mara mingi, juu kuna gunia mahindi hapa. You'll have lessened the burden to your pocket in the house and you'll have more savings.
Yes.
That is what I want RUTO to do. Talk to us. Uko na kamiti ulitengeneza, wako wapi? Sijai, I only know D. Tell me the second person. And I'm not lying. And mimi ni mtu nataka niko na know-how mingi. Sijui mtu ya pili, najua D pekee. Sijui mwingine. But during Kibaki's time, I could give you the whole list because they weren't listening to mpaka nyanya anamwambia na Kikuyu reure togweko, anaenda Luo Omera wabotimo kama akienda huko togweko. They were told even by nyanyes. They listened. I don't know where Ruto does not want us to help him. And me, Ruto has failed. The truth is he has failed tremendous. Unajua ukipata 40% una repeat. 40% inamaanisha nini? Umeanguka. Na kama ameanguka, si afikirie, let me talk to Wanjiko. Ore datea, Omera Otieno, watchmane, Omera Meru, nato kuga. You know, watu wasepeane ideas, zingine zinakuja, zinaenda parliament, zingine zizake za kupitisha tu because he has presidential powers, zingine zina reconstructiwa kwa cabinet, then maisha inakuwa mzuri. Mnasumbuliwa, hatuwezi fanya kazi usiku juu. Why do mulika mwizi ilianza wapi? Haikuwa ya kumulika mwizi. The name mulika mwizi ilikuja tu. But where mulika mwizi was, automatically a market formed. Angalia mahali kulikuwa na mulika mwizi, wamama walianza kuuza hapo. Angalia tu area yote kulikuwa na mulika iti huo. Namwambia hiyo because anasikia. What happened to mulika mwizi? The name mulika mwizi is because of security, atinaleta security. So there was necessarily no mwizi. But wakati kulieko mulika mwizi everywhere, market formed. Network. Hii tunaambiwa network. How much economy will network change? Let's be honest. That network will not change mama mboga. You know, the biggest economy in Kenya is not driven by network. It's driven by society. Watu kukutana na kubrush. Watu kupatana. So ukieka network pale, I'm not fighting. Ndio hii hapa. But mimi na imagine hii network hata kieka kwa soko. Inasaidia watu wangapi? Vijana wataenda pale hivyo kuweka nini bundles, kudownload data na nini ndio isikufe, una clean data yako nini. But kwa business, how will it? Ule mama mboga I need your network because anatumia katululu. Kenya na need ni vile hiyo vitu yake ndogo inaweza punguzwa. To me, that is what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at hiyo pikipiki unatuambia ati pikipiki ya stima. It will not change the economy. Let's be honest with one another. From here to Kisumu, I want to take the pikipiki ya stima. Ni charge. After every 80 kilometer, Kisumu is 420 kilometers away. And charging is 4 hours minimum. 80 divided by 420. Plus every 4 hours in every station. Utafika Kisumu after 1 week. To attend jokes, bwana. Yeah.
It's the thing, Mr. Mungai, 2 issues that I want you to respond to, and I'm going to come to you, Mr. Magalo, just to close down this conversation, because there's also the socio-economy that we also want to look at whether the president is actually fixed it in 1 year, because he promised that they're going to fix this country. Good. This particular headline, I want to respond to it on why 1 year down the line, even on a very specific promise that we are going to fix agriculture in this country. And on the promise that cartels were running in this country, that's what they wanted to clamp down. They promised the farmers, we're going to get done with them.
One great promise was,
yes,
nikieka Biblia chini,
does that?
I'll handle cartels. I've never even heard one name of a cartel.
Mr. Mungai, why are we still having farmers putting their coffee plants in September 2023?
That's a very good question. And it's a question that is at the lips of every Kenyan. Because for the longest time, coffee has been a thorn in the flesh for many a farmer. And you need to understand the background and context of coffee farming so that you understand what exactly the problem is. Now, the issue of coffee is so complicated to the extent that it is the farmer ultimately who bears the load of everything. And I'll give you an example. For instance, government is offering free fertilizer, not free, subsidized fertilizer right now at 2,500 Kenya shillings. Now, coffee is so complicated such that when you take that fertilizer subsidized and you take them to the societies, because you know you want the society has the numbers and everything of all the farmers, okay? The leadership of societies would rather sell fertilizer to the farmers at 7,500 than take the subsidized fertilizer from farmers, from the government, at 2,500. That's just one area of complication in terms of coffee. Now, by the time the coffee farmer is paid, when they are paid, by the time they are paid, the farmer undergoes several deductions. One is on the fertilizer at 7,500 vis-a-vis what they would have gotten at 2,500. And so a system was created in Kenya where they made sure that the farmer was always borrowing to an extent when he gets paid, he doesn't have anything remaining in his pocket. Now, what is the specific challenge ailing Kenyan coffee farmers? When His Excellency the Deputy President held a coffee conference in Meru, a very bold lady, and you know, by the way, in Mount Kenya, we have a history of ladies who are very brilliant and very courageous. Even sometimes when our men do not live up to expectations,
I love that.
We still have courageous women. We still have courageous women who are willing to call it as it is.
Yes.
And one of those courageous women was Cecil Mbarile, His Excellency the Governor of Embu.
Yes.
She said, we are here for 3 days discussing round in circles. But the problem of coffee is X and Y company. Now, why is X and Y company the problem we have in this country?
Yeah.
Because that is the company where when our society collects the coffee, they take it to that company. Okay? Now, that company has the responsibility of marketing our coffee to wherever jurisdictions that they market the coffee to. Now, once they are paid, because in the international market there is no coffee on debt. There is no coffee on debt. Ni unalipa kama tenda, ukichukua kahawa, unalipa. But for our farmers, they give on credit. And then they have to wait for payment, when the payment shall come. And then when the payment comes, they take the money and put in fixed deposit. So the money earns interest, which they keep, and then they pay farmers what they think farmers deserve to be paid. And this is why we need to support His Excellency the Deputy President. Because coffee is such a sensitive issue, it killed a full governor in Nyeri. That's how sensitive coffee is. Because you go to Germany to tell them to buy Kenyan coffee, the guys in Germany tell you, you did not need to come to Germany. Go back to Kenya. There is a guy called Ragalo. He sits at Chester House. Go and meet him. He's the one to discuss coffee prices. You come to Ragalo. Ragalo is laughing at you and asking you, why were you going all the way to Germany and leaving me here? Well, we could have discussed. So the issue of coffee cartels is an issue that we need to have a resolve to dismantle. And that is why the global forum, where the Deputy President left yesterday in Colombia, is a very good forum, because then we can tell the actual buyers of the coffee, look, if you want to buy our coffee is ready. You can get it at the Kenyan market. And that is why we have the coffee reforms bill that is going to the Senate very soon, so that we liberalize the coffee economy. See, you have a society like Gakondo in Embu. Why do you have to rely on Muzungu to take your coffee exchange, kushinda mukisumbuana? If you have a buyer that is giving you good prices, sell to that particular buyer, because our Kenyan coffee is the best coffee that we have in the world and is used to blend other coffees.
How long does it have to take the government to deliver that promise? Because what we're doing here, Mr. Mungai,
and what did Uhuru not do? Because Uhuru's time, coffee was doing better.
Vis-a-vis 1 year down the line, is it not possible for the government? Mr. Mungai,
let me explain to you why. Let me explain to you why he was not able.
How long has it taken President William Ruto to look into the issue of cartels in the sugar industry?
No, let me explain why. Don't combine coffee and sugar, because they are two different sectors. No, they are examples, but the dynamics are different. The dynamics of sugar and coffee are a bit different. Let's just look at specifically coffee and why Uhuru was not able to deal with coffee.
Was dealing with it better?
No.
Was better than now.
No, let me explain why.
Why did the money dip then?
You see, if you're the guy marketing, if you're the guy storing, if you're the guy selling to the outside world, then you can decide to tell your sources there, let us cripple, and that's how they crippled the Nyeri government. And you remember there was an outcry of farmers. So the cartels collude and say, don't buy the Kenyan coffee, leave it like that, let them suffer until they come back to us, we negotiate. And that is exactly what is happening there. I'll tell you for a fact, it is now so bad the government has decided in the near future, if the cartels continue to behave the way they are behaving, the Kenyan government is going to buy the coffee from the farmers and keep it. And they are going to keep it until such a time we dismantle the cartels and we can sell our own coffee directly. Because we cannot have a few companies owned by a few people, including some of those that you are mentioning. They are the thorn in the flesh for farmers. So I'll tell you for a fact, it might look like it is taking time, and that is why you need to anchor it in law. That is why you need to anchor it in law, and that is why there was public participation, so that another president does not come and decide to change the policies because they feel like changing the policies. So it may look like it is taking time to reform the coffee sector, but I want to assure farmers not to be cheated and uproot their coffee. Good times are ahead.
Mr. Ragalo, let's move away from the promises in the agriculture sector as well. Now, it's 1 year down the line. The biggest downfall for the sub-Saharan economy, as has been put by majority of observers, is that our social economy is always in problems. Kenya included.
Yes.
Congo included.
Yes.
Sudan included.
Yes.
Gabon now is included in it.
Yes.
Do you believe that 1 year down the line, that our social economy is stable? What score do you give the Kenya Kwanza government in making Kenya Kenya?
Hey, that is the most difficult question of all. Because that is such a controversial question. We needs a very controversial answer.
Yes. We have 10 minutes. Take 5. I want to give you 5.
Okay.
Yes.
Europe is divided into tribes. Belgium is Belgians. German is Germans. Africa, you can't divide it into tribes. You will have countries that are almost like a village because there are too many languages here. Tanzania has 125 languages. So I want you to divide Tanzania into countries, 125 countries. So it is way impossible. So people have to coalesce together. And some of these countries were nations. That's why they were autonomous before the Mzungu came in. And before the 1884, the conference that brought these countries. That's why you'll find Luos lived this way and they lived here. There were countries with their chiefs. So we were brought up in a whole big home where people have diverse languages, diverse way of life, and even thinking, but they have to come and work together. And that is the beauty of Africa, the social part, which again works against them because of the social competition. When you go to Poland, they are Polish. So there's no social competition. They are one tribe. So it's just Africa is very distinct. So now, how do we harness one another? Just like I said, you don't pull a string on someone. Bring each other together to work together. Why is Gabon falling? Because of that social competition. That one person who lost the election becomes a president. When the army goes in, they pull out the servant, tells you, hey boss, sasa nini ulikuwa unang'ang'ania? They even now tell him, we are not even fungaing you. You are free to move in the country, roam. See, that is what they did. You are free to move in the country, do whatever you want, but you are not the president. He's a free man. Hajafungiwa. What was difficult for him not to do a good election? That is now social. That social affects economy. That is why Africa will always be failing. They did it to Libya. Libya right now, it is now very poor because of the social fabric. They tore the social fabric as Libyans. Libya had the biggest and the longest man-made river in the world. Not Africa, in the world. that guy took a river, diverted the rivers, and made sure every town is supplied by water. Right now, the river is dry. Do you know that? It's not working. The most new now is that the river is not working. Right now, Libyans are looking for water that was in plenty because they tore the social fabric. Kenya need to remember, a social fabric in Kenya is very beautiful. That when you go to Western, you will get maize and sugar cane. Okay? When you go to Nyanza, depending where again, I said Western because more Luya, you will get samaki, bananas, will get tobacco. Okay? That social fabric bring food to the table. And everyone brings his plates. And we all share the plates. If Mount Kenya will bring maziwa, I'll bring samaki to him. I'll take his maziwa. That is how Kisumu was called Kisumu, because of the social fabric. Kisumu is actually a shrub. The real name is Kisuma, meaning butter trade. Kisuma means butter trade. It's good to Kenyans to know this. So the Kalenjins will come with maziwa. They will use not to talk, you remember, tap, tap, then you pick your things. So it was a place of butter trade. That's why it's called Kisuma. So the shrub is Kisumu, but the real name is Kisuma. So now, that social fabric is what brings Kenya. But when we now start the politics the way we are, it's just indiscipline. Then the social fabric is get torn. And when it gets torn, we look at it the way it was Kitambo. We used to have cotton mills in Kisumu because there used to be cotton farming in Nyanza. Who killed cotton? Because of the social fabric that this community is fighting us. So we have to deprive them of economy so that waanguke. Wakianguka sini country naanguka. That is how economy of Kenya went down. So cotton mills went down and many other. Why would you have samaki coming all the way from Homa Bay to Ruaraka for processing? That is social fabric again. So these things, should they finish, we are in trouble. Social fabric is being affected by what? One big thing, presidential against the governors. You want to come to build houses as a government, other than giving counties money to build houses because it's a devolved unit. So it brings politics between the presidential, I'm not saying a person, please, because Uhuru also did the same, between presidential and the counties. You're not giving them money, you want to build houses for them. They feel bad. So that brings problems, and that again tears the social fabric. We have hospitals. You still want to control the hospitals, which is 100% devolved. What are you doing? Tearing the social fabric. So we will never agree until some of these things in the constitutions are 100% devolved. Then we bring communities together. And that's why he said, today I've been to social, to kai chini tuonge.
Mr. Mangai, you have your 4 minutes. And I'm going to start like this. Do you feel that the biggest responsibility for the performance of an economy, that is the social economy, that in the past 1 year that we're making steps to being one Kenya? And number 2, this particular issue here of the president essentially working closely with the governors, just like Ragalo is putting it. Raila Odinga has spoken about it. He's saying, well, see, whatever you're doing is you're splitting this country. You still want to gain ground through the governors. Stop it. Do you believe that we've gained as a country socially since the Kenya Kwanza government took power 1 year ago? 3 minutes.
You know, I think I agree with Ragalo.
But you're not coming into government.
Anyway.
Well, I agree with him that for us to coexist, there needs to be some level of interdependence. And the truth is that, leave alone the politicians, you know, the challenge is that most of this political temperature is raised either immediately after elections or before 1 year before elections. But if you come to the other times, you find Kenyans just go about their normal businesses. You find people in Kisumu doing what they do best. You find people in Central Kenya doing what they do best, Northeastern, Machakos, etc., etc. It's only that when the political temperatures rise, that Kenyans remember, wait a minute, I am Mungai from Central, and this is Ragayo from Luo Nyanza. You know, it's when now we start remembering, yani all along you've been Luo, and I've been Kikuyu. But over and above, if you go to a place like Odeon Center right now in Nairobi, and you will find a stage where there are vehicles going to Kisumu, and there are people there coexisting very well. You will find the shopkeeper selling the shop there is a Kikuyu. The vehicle is going to Luo Nyanza. You will find across the road there is a vehicle going towards Nyeri. So typically, for this society to coexist, there is some level of interdependence that needs to happen. And we need to be cognizant that, yes, we need each other for us to be able to move forward, regardless of the political rhetoric. And just to answer your question whether the Kenya Kwanza government has been instrumental in forging social cohesion, I think there is still more that needs to be done. The president is, constitutionally, he is a symbol of unity. But given a state where we still have polarization in terms of tribes, it is hard work. Let me put it that it is hard work. It is not easy. No one president, because even if it was Raila who was president, then maybe we Kikuyus would have been saying we need a share or something like that. It's a lot of hard work, but progressively we will get there.
Pretty much. Guess what? We've seen a handshake finally at the end of this conversation, which is a good thing. Take them online to the time that the agenda is right here on our Lookuptv, and we end like this. I've been reading some of your comments that are coming in. Just one that has stood out is one from Fred Okango. They're saying that I've listened to Gachagua telling and threatening his boss, William, that there is no constitutional provisions to audit the elections as proposed by NATCO. Now here's the thing. Firstly, let me remind him that IEBC has provided for in a COK 2010 is responsible for the facilitation of the observation, monitoring and evaluation of the election. So he said essentially saying, well, they're going to audit whether you like it or not. Guess what? Some of those that we didn't get to read, we're going to respond to them as usual right after this particular show. My name is Simba Kiage. Tomorrow is a good time to see you, isn't it? Goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to info@lookuptv.co.ke.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection, added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lelima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lelima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on the Insight, only on Lookuptv.